Hi, I'm Julie here with Green Acres Nursery and Supply, and we're really happy to have partnered with the City of Elk Grove. Their program is to erase food waste, and together we're going to show you how to get started with composting. It's a lot easier than you might think, and we're going to cover a lot of the details for you. We're going to talk about terminology, do's and don'ts, composting styles, quick fixes for when things go wrong, how to know if your compost is done, and especially how you can use the compost you made. Composting is really just taking advantage of decomposition. Decomposition, after all, happens every day, all day, whether or not we're involved. Composting means that we're taking those materials that are going to break down and putting them in one spot so we can make use of it. There are two ingredients to compost, and really just two. The first is called carbon. It has another nickname, which is dry, and another nickname, which is brown. The second ingredient is nitrogen, also known as green and also known as wet. Those are the only two ingredients. And when you put those two ingredients together, they start to break down automatically. And when it's a big enough section of those materials, they start to create heat. And that's when it breaks down even faster. No fats, oils, grease, proteins, or waste from meat-eating animals. Further, no weeds, diseased plants, or bits of plants that you're trying to get rid of. We can accidentally grow them on purpose because you're not sure that you can get your pile hot enough, long enough to kill any problems like weed seeds. Then, how about some do's? So for carbon, the brown and the dry, paper plates, paper towels, paper napkins, the cardboard rolls from your toilet paper, and your dryer lint, shredded newspaper and paper, although please not any with the heavy glossy ads in it. Those colors have metals in them. Then for nitrogen, the green and the wet, how about moldy or stale bread, crackers, cereal, onions, potatoes, and garlic that sprouted or started to go moldy, leftover rice and noodles, tea bags, coffee grounds, and the filter you used in the coffee maker, as well as vegetable and fruit trimmings. So how about where to make this compost and in what kind of an area? Ideally, your compost pile should be on the ground. Compost on the ground actually improves the soil on it while it breaks down, inviting earthworms and decomposing insect fungi to come and work that pile and the soil that's under it for you. Most commonly, you've probably seen the 3-bin system. This is a rather large setup. The first bin is where your primary material goes, and when it's broken down and it's come down in temperature, you're going to turn it, and you turn it into the second bin. Then, when it's done cooking and breaking down, you turn it by putting it into the third bin, all while able to start brand new material composting in bin 1. The 3-bin system is ideal for hot composting. Hot composting is when you get it maybe in as little as 8 weeks. So that's great. The downside, there is the physical labor of turning it, and you have to have enough material to do a hot composting pile. It has to start out at 3 feet high, 3 feet wide, 3 feet long, or you won't get the temperature that's needed. Then we've got something else where we move from hot composting to colder and cold composting. This is where you no longer have to turn and manage. What you're simply doing is taking your kitchen waste out of your home, putting it where it goes, and covering that with an equal amount of brown material. And then you simply walk away. And you repeatedly do this. The downside to this is that it takes a lot longer than hot composting. The plus, you never have to stop adding and you never have to turn it. Simply walk away and then add more when you have it. Whether you're doing cold or hot composting or something in an above ground tumbler, we need to keep certain guests out of there. So it's going to need to be enclosed. However, every time you enclose it, make sure there's still lots of airflow and the thing doesn't look hideous to you. Use pallets lined with hardware cloth and make a hardware cloth as a lid to keep those guys out, while not making it airtight. Airtight is not going to do really well at all. And we're going to keep smells out. By keeping that air flowing, not making it airtight, then sometimes there is a smell. And what that means is, remember of those two ingredients where we've got wet and dry? If it starts to smell, you've got way too much wet in there and we need to rebalance it out. And you do that by putting in a stash of saved up leaves or shredded up newspaper. Within hours, that smell is going to be gone. Suppose it's the other problem. You've got a pile that just isn't going anywhere. It's not reducing in size and it's not cooking. In that case, you've got too much carbon or brown in there and we need to adjust it and get it back in balance by adding more green. In a pinch, go to the coffee shop and get their used coffee grounds. You can get that in a large amount and it's going to fix your pile just like that. Hot, cold, or tumbler system, there always comes the question of when is this stuff done? When is it officially compost? And in general, it's when it no longer looks like what you put in it mostly. There's always going to be a few bits of pineapple tops or corns on the cob that got through and didn't break down. Not a problem. Simply put it back on the top of the pile and you're going to keep adding and it's going to break down at some point. If you've got an open air pile and you have a pitchfork, you're going to lift it up until you mostly don't see what you put in it and voila, there's your compost. Compost has a whole lot of significant, amazing uses for you. Number one, it's qualified to fix all soil types that aren't behaving and make them work again. If it's too light and sandy and all the water keeps going through, compost is the answer. If it's too thick and maybe too full of clay, adding compost is the answer. Using compost in your veggie garden as a mulch, it's going to feed the soil and suppress weeds. Using it as broadcasting out on your lawn periodically is going to feed the soil out there, as well as using it as a top dressing in any plants you have anywhere in the yard. Green Acres Nursery and Supply and the City of Elk Grove's program to erase food waste, we are all very excited to get you on the way to making compost. Who knew that keeping those onion skins and leaves out of the trash would turn out to be such a great and easy thing to do? We did, and now you do too. Please see our site for more information on how you can get busy composting.